Hello there and welcome. So this is my second shed build update. Now in the last video there was a little bit of questioning whether my racking would actually support this project, and as you can see it does. I'm pretty happy with it. It doesn't look the neatest, it's not the tidiest, it is not a work of art, but it does the job intended, and more importantly it didn't cost me anything other than the screws I needed. So what has been done? Well, I have clearly filled the tanks, and to fill the tanks I've had to repair the tanks. So they did have some rather large and nasty cracks down the side of them. Some of them were worse than others. You can see in there where the cracks were. And what I did to fix this was basically break down an old tank I had, cut some glass into some squares that fit, and then use copious amounts of silicone to fill in the gaps and hold the replacement panels in place. And it's done a fine job. There's no leakage, there's no movement of the glass panels. These tanks have been watertight now for about 2 weeks, and I'm happy with it. It does exactly what is required of the tank. So the tanks have been filled up with salt water. I have done all my pipe work, so I ordered quite a few bits of pipe work. I've got some tank connectors, some 90-degree bends, some straight bits, and it's all 25mm. There was a little bit of tweaking done in terms of how much noise this made, and I tell you what made a huge difference in terms of noise, and that's these 90-degree bends on top. If you've got a problem with noise, try adding a 90-degree bend. You hear the difference? That's without the 90-degree bend. And then with it, it's super silent. So I'd recommend that if you've got any issues with noise on your system overflows. Also, I've added a sump. Now, this may or may not be a temporary sump. I'm not decided. It's going to be fairly hard to maintain because access is quite limited. But it does do the job of a sump. It's not pretty, it's actually an old water trough that I've cut down. It's in a kind of zigzag shape, which I'm not massively fond of, but it does force the water through the media I've put in there. I am undecided, because it's not what I was going to go for. I was going to go for a classic kind of glass sump, but funds are limited, so I've gone with this, because it was free again. I've saved a lot of money. So in the sump, we've got some bio balls, there's more down there all sunk, and then we've got these sponges. They're at a bit of a jaunty angle, but they do fit, they do go to the bottom, so the water is going through them. These are actually sponges from an Awazi external filter, so they're good sponges and they do fit. So there's quite a lot of filtration actually. I mean, if you think about the amount of bio balls, there's probably about 400 bio balls, and then you've got 6 of those sponges. It's a good amount of filtration. I'm pretty happy with it. We've got some heaters, so there's a 500 watt and a 300 watt, and we're running at 25, which is nice. And I've added some algae. I think probably I've added it a little bit too early, because what I'm getting is, you can see this sort of biofilm cyanobacteria growing, but that is just the tank cycling. I'm going to have to deal with it. I'm probably going to get a little bit of algae die off. Some of this octose is probably going to die because it doesn't really like being covered by algae and bacteria, because it blocks it off, but the other ones are doing okay. The pump I've got in there is the Blagdon Amphibious IQ. That's that new pump from Blagdon I did a review on a couple of weeks ago, and that's going through 25mm pipe. I've had to restrict it at this point because it's just so powerful. It's really powerful. When I had it on full go, that pump does 60 watts, so it's half power, and at half power it was just flooding this tank and it was overflowing. So I've had to do it on half power and then restrict it again. So they're really, really good pumps. There are smaller models, but I didn't get a smaller model, I got a bigger model, so I have to work with what I've got. Power wise, it's a bit of a jumble, but it is safe. It's completely safe. It's just a little bit untidy. That will be tidied up. I'm going to be getting separate power boxes done by an electrician. It's going to be on a circuit board, so there'll be a few different circuits in here. There'll be one for lighting, there'll be one for pumps and bits and pieces, and then there'll be another circuit just for like bits for the shed, you know, like, you know, tools and things like that. So there'll be 3 different circuits, all their own power supply, so they can all handle up to about 3,000 watts per power supply. So there'll be more than enough power. At the moment though, it's a little bit DIY, but it's all safe. I've got it hooked up to one of these wattage meters so I can see the draw. So this particular circuit can handle up to, I think UK one is about 2,900. What we draw is upside down 652 on that, and then that comes in from there. This bit here draws about 300 watts. So the whole shed at the moment is only drawing about 1,000 watts. So we're not overloading any electrics. It just looks a bit messy. The other side is a work in progress. So there were 4 of these system tanks, but one of them was so damaged I just couldn't I couldn't replace it. It just had basically here a hole missing. So I tried siliconing it, but then I thought, do I really trust just a blob of silicone? I thought no. So this side is being left for the moment. I'm going to be ordering a tank to fit there, so a new tank, and when that's there then I'll connect these 2 tanks together and I'll basically double my volume on that system. So finally, lighting. Now lighting I'm experimenting with. On the top we've got one of the brand new, these are the new Fluval marine lights. So these are the Bluetooth version. This is the biggest one that they do. I will be doing a little review on this in the next couple of days. I've got to say though, in summary, it's a very, very nice light, very bright light, and even with all this algae bloom, the algae that I want to grow is actually growing, so it just shows that it's a good light. Now down here I've done a little bit of an experiment with regards to lighting. I'm using the same light on these algae that I'm using on my tomatoes. Because these are green algae, I assume they're going to like the same kind of light that green plants do, which is the red and blue spectrum, and that's what these lights give out. They're red and blue spectrum. They're really bright. They're 50 watts, but the actual output is tremendous. And they've got a nice Cree in the middle, Cree LED, very bright, and there is growth. Now a lot of these algae are looking a bit dodgy because they've gone into photoshock because they came from a lot lower light system, but the new growth is immensely green, so you can see that these lights are doing the job. The only problem with them is they're not waterproof, which if you don't submerge them isn't a problem. If you're careful it's fine, but that, you know, on a fish tank system, not being waterproof is a little bit dodgy. But they're all suspended really well, and I'm not going to be putting my hand in and dripping water over them. I'm really careful with it. One thing I have to watch out for is this spray, so I'm going to have to adapt that slightly so we don't get so many bubbles, but it isn't really going on the light so much, so we're okay is what I'm trying to say. It's fine. It looks dodgy, but it's not. It is a factor I've thought about, and it is something I'm being careful of, so no need to worry. As you can see, the rest of the shed, it's coming along. More of that's been done. I've got this tank here. Now this tank's really interesting because I've got so many ideas for it. It's a lovely tank. It's nice and long. It's nice and thin, and we've got this part here. So I don't know. I mean, if you want to give me an idea, I've got probably 2 or 3 ideas. The first idea is to use it to have some nice clownfish in there and an anemone and see if they breed. So like a clownfish breeding kind of tank. Or I would quite fancy to maybe do some Tanganique and shell dwellers in it, because that would look epic. It's a nice long tank, lots of shells. Or the other idea is to do like a biotope for apistogrammas, because again, They're lovely fish, and it would suit a pistogrammas in a long tank because you could have a couple of pairs in there. So there's a lot of things I want to do with this tank, but I just can't decide which one because it needs to be one that I just fall in love with. So if you like any of my ideas, let me know. Also, if you've got any ideas of your own, I would be happy to hear them. So that's the shell update. Everything is fine. No worries with regards to tanks breaking, no worries with regards to racking breaking or electrical burning of the shed. Everything's perfect, although it is ugly, but don't worry about that. So thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and happy fish keeping.